Welcome to the Grand Review. This is the show that's all about movie news and reviews. I'm your host, a mostly unknown, Garrett Ray. And joining me, it's the man who laughs at the sight of a burning coffin. It's Andy Delia.
Did I really do that when we watched this?
No, I was trying to reference Willem Dafoe's character.
I think I was just because I was liking William Dafoe so much.
Well, yeah, I mean, how can you not?
Yeah. Thank you, Garrett. Thanks for the introduction.
Oh, goodness, we are back.
Yeah.
And not a moment too soon.
Big time, too.
There is
a lot to talk about.
A lot to cover.
Yeah.
So just so everyone knows, we didn't disappear on purpose. I'm just an idiot. And so,
well, Garrett's not an idiot. Garrett just got busy. I got busy, and I saw all of our movie viewing within the last week.
Yeah, so basically, so did I. I've seen 3 movies this week.
Yeah.
4 if you count. I can't remember which day we watched Carry On, but yeah.
Okay.
it's been nuts. I was out of town for 10 days, driving all across the great state of Texas. Filming at Renaissance fairs, putting an 18-wheeler through a hole in a wall in a set, all kinds of crazy stuff, working on commercials. So
I should have went with you.
It was fun, but very, very tiring. I once had to drive.
Sure.
I had to drive out to San Angelo. 2 commercials we were shooting there. Then I had to be at a Renaissance fair in New Braunfels. So I had to drive from San Angelo to New Braunfels on Sunday morning. And so that's 3.5 hours. I got about an hour and a half into that drive. I had taken my Adderall. It hadn't kicked in. I had to pull over and take a nap. Then drove the rest of the way, filmed for about 8 hours, then drove 3.5 hours back, got back around 11 o'clock in San Angelo, and then was up at 8 o'clock the next morning on set. So it was insanity. And then it was basically 12-hour days, the rest of that. Not all of that time. Obviously, I was doing something.
Well, I was doing that just at one location.
Yeah, you had to work 10 days straight over the holidays. That is...
And it was 8-hour, 9-hour shifts.
Not fun.
No.
Not fun at all.
But it's what I do.
Yeah. All right. Well, we're back to talk about many, many movies. So here's what we're going to do. This week... You're getting a 2-episode sort of split megasode, if you will.
Yeah.
So this week we're going to cover, on this episode, A Complete Unknown, Nosferatu, and then Carry On, which is a Netflix movie.
Okay.
And then in the next episode, we'll cover Sonic the Hedgehog 3, Mufasa, and Kraven the Hunter, which we didn't get to. I've been building up to it all year and didn't get to do it.
And the sad part about it is I didn't even watch it.
Yeah, you haven't seen that. You also haven't seen Sonic 3, right?
No, I haven't seen Sonic 3 yet.
And I haven't seen Mufasa, so we're kind of catching each other up as much as the audience.
Yeah, spoiler alert for their Mufasa, you're not missing anything. But I'll get into that.
Yeah, and then we'll do the news in that other episode. So if you're just here for the news, then you can skip over to that. As always, there will be time codes for spoiler and spoiler-free sections of each movie in the podcast notes. And then, hey, if you're here and liking the show, make sure you give us a review and
let us know what you think of us.
Yeah, let us know good, bad. Well, not about us personally. Just let us know what you think about the movie. I don't need any more criticism. I'm already sad.
I welcome it. Bring it on. Tell me how much I suck.
See, I don't actually have to ask for that. People just do it without me even saying, hey, what do you think of me? Like one of our new listeners, Colin Feldhouse, who I was working with. He was the photographer at my wedding, and I've worked with him on several things out in San Angelo, and he listened to the podcast and said, it's really good, except that one guy, Garrett, he just sucks. He's like, they need to kick that guy off. I agree, Colin. I agree.
I don't. I don't want to be sitting here talking by myself.
Well, hey, maybe you went crazy and you actually are.
No, I don't think so.
No, probably not.
You're not a figment of my imagination. No way.
I've never had a fig in my whole life.
Oh, okay. Never had a fig Newton?
Actually, you know what? As a kid, I think I did.
Every kid had a fig Newton.
At some point. I don't think I liked them, though. We had a fig tree in our front yard.
I loved them when I was a kid.
I remember looking at the figs and going, that doesn't look fit for human consumption.
Oh, okay.
And now I look at them and think it kind of looks like a sack of something. I'll let you fill in the blanks.
And we segue into Nosferatu, which goes perfectly. No,
actually, yeah. Let's start with A Complete Unknown.
Okay.
So this is a Bob Dylan biographical picture. It is directed by James Mangold, who has directed. He did Walk the Line, so this is not his first foray into this.
I'm glad he didn't get Joaquin Phoenix back to play Johnny Cash. I'm glad he got somebody else.
Oh yeah. Well, Joaquin Phoenix would have signed up and then dropped out at the last minute anyway. So it's so shocking to me every time I remember that Night and Day was also James Mangold, the
the
Cameron
Tom Cruise
Diaz
one?
and Tom Cruise one. I love that. I love that movie. And
He did that?
Yes.
Really?
And then he did the Wolverine, which is the one that's
Logan.
in Japan. And then he did Logan, which is completely different.
He did the Wolverine?
He did the Wolverine. And so it's just like, what on earth? This guy is
But then,
all over the place.
Ford versus Ferrari.
Ford versus Ferrari, Indiana Jones and the Dial of Destiny, which did not go over well this year.
I liked it, though.
I need to see it still, but
It's not bad.
next time I loop back around to getting Disney Plus, I'll watch it. So I'm also looking forward to playing Indiana Jones and the Great Circle.
It was 2023.
Was it 23?
Yeah.
Oh, I'm really behind.
Yeah.
Well, that's not anything new. But yeah, Complete Unknown. It's all about the first 4 years of Bob Dylan's career. And
how he pissed off a bunch of hippies.
But also kind of was a hippie. I don't know.
It's an interesting story. It's so much that I ordered the book off of Amazon today.
Oh, did you really?
Yeah. I really want to read into that.
Well, I think that maybe it's just time we get into the spoiler-free section of our review of A Complete Unknown. So, Andy, as is tradition, we start with your thoughts.
I loved it. I have a hard time not liking biopics, especially about musicians, just because musicians to me are interesting people.
Sure.
And their thought process and their way of doing things. And this is definitely falls into that. Timothy Chalamet, I really, really liked in this. I just fantastic performance. Everybody around him was good too. Like I like the one that played Joan Baez. Mm-hmm. Even Dan Fogler, who's normally a really kind of waste of an actor in my opinion, was actually pretty good in this. He's not in it a whole lot.
Yeah.
And
I think the movie's better for it.
Yeah, Edward Norton he always does a good job.
I was gonna say Edward Norton, it really proves how good of a performer he is because he seems likable.
Yes.
And that's not anything I've ever heard about Edward Norton.
And that's really sad because I would love to meet him and ask him, it's mainly about Rounders. Rounders is one of my favorites. I absolutely love that film with him and Matt Damon about the illegal Texas Hold'em in circuit in New York City.
Interesting.
Yeah. And John Malkovich is the bad guy in that.
Always fun.
Linked to the Russian mob. He's called Teddy KGB in that. Fantastic. It's a little film. The guy that directed that, his first film is The Last Seduction that I've always liked too. And that Rounders was his second film. It was a Miramax. It was a little bit bigger, but it still didn't really catch on with audiences, even though it had Ed Norton and Matt Damon as like the lead roles.
Yeah. And
just really like seedy film, but it was really, really good.
Okay, I'm adding it to the list.
Yeah, you're coming over some night and watching that because I can watch that at any time.
All right, sweet. Yeah, because this list is getting so long, I can't.
Yeah, but
take a whole ream of paper just to print it.
You're going to empty my copier.
Yeah, probably.
But just, it's really a shame that this film is not doing well.
Yeah,
I loved it.
So it's currently box office sitting around $31.7 million on a $50 to $70 million budget. Yeah. So not doing too hot. And I think Indiana Jones didn't do too great either at the box office.
It did more than that did.
Well, I mean, yeah, it's Indiana Jones. It had some built-in success.
But Timothy Chalamet has been pushing this movie hard. Like he's been touring the country doing Bob Dylan songs.
Really? Has he?
Yeah, and the soundtrack.
What a dork.
The soundtrack's really good too. Because he did all the music for it.
Yeah, he actually played and sang, which is impressive. I was watching. I was like, I wonder if he played guitar before this, or if he picked it up just.
And that was just all of Bob Dylan's the voice and how he carried himself, and all of Dylan's mannerisms were just portrayed perfectly.
Yeah, it's a good performance. It really is.
I really didn't think you'd like this movie.
Well, here's the deal. Okay, so I have a torn mind of it. Okay, so I think it's great cinematography. I think that it captures the time period well, and it just feels good. I mean, cannot understate how pretty and naturalistic the lighting in this is. It's very, very good. I think if you're into music history and films about music history, and if you're a fan of Bob Dylan, you'll probably enjoy this quite a bit.
I'm not a big fan of Bob Dylan, but I've seen him in concert.
Oh,
yeah, and.
Well, he's been doing it for 50 years. I guess you've had a couple of chances.
Yeah, and he's got like 50 albums apparently.
I know,
too.
Isn't that crazy?
Yeah, and it's just these kind of films like I really like. I know I like Bohemian Rhapsody. I know you didn't, and I even like the Elton John film Rocket Man that I'm sure you wouldn't like either.
That one looks a little bit more fun than Bohemian Rhapsody, but I think Bohemian Rhapsody was just the editing was really off-putting to me more than anything. There's this one scene around the table that's famous for being like, what were they doing?
Yeah, but it was Bryan Singer too, who eventually his name got taken off of the film.
Well, yeah, let's sing a little less about that guy.
Yeah.
That's a terrible pun, and I apologize, and I will go to the whipping post after this.
But this is a great movie.
I think it's got some humor that lands. I think it's structured pretty well, but here's the thing. Although it is one of those things where it's like, this should be up my alley, and I should really love this. I couldn't wait for it to be over, and there's only one reason. Bob Dylan is an insufferable twit. God, he sucks so bad. He's such a boneheaded, moron, cheating, womanizing jerk.
Yeah.
And I just hate him.
Yeah.
And I was just like, and the way he talks is just like, I don't care about anything. And I'm out here singing a song. And it's just like, shut up. Shut up, Bob Dylan. I'm not Timothée Chalamet, not his performance. Bob Dylan for real. I dislike him.
Well, there's a reason why he's a recluse.
Yeah, because he's awful.
He's a jerk. Yeah.
No one and I know for a fact that he approved this script and was happy with it, which means he thinks he's in the right.
Which he knows he's a jerk then too.
I don't like this guy. And so like I'm sitting there and this is we've had conversations about like hero worship and idolizing people. And I was sitting there and the whole time I was like, I'm enjoying this, but because he sucks so much, I'm sad about the state of the world. And I know that's a stupid thing to say in a review for a movie. I get it. I know that is a personal problem, whatever. But good Lord, he just wouldn't stop one-upping himself at being awful.
Yeah.
And he's won a Nobel Prize. Bob Dylan, for real, has won a Nobel Prize for literature, for writing. All of the stuff he says is basically things you would read on Reddit and the subreddit r/I'm 14 and this is deep. Like war bad. You figured it out. Good job. You want a cookie? Good Lord.
So I wonder how much of that was the things with Joan Baez.
Yeah.
I'm curious how fact based it is, and that's really why I want to read the book too.
Yeah. I don't know how much of this is
because
like totally accurate.
You could even see, or it's portrayed in the film, she had a lot of envy for him for his songwriting ability and for what he could produce, to the point that a lot of the concert sequences they show with her was her covering Bob Dylan songs.
Yes, yeah.
So it was like, so did she really hate him that much? And
I mean,
but he was a jerk to her.
Yeah,
like that's no lie.
And like cheating on Sylvie with Joan, and then like. And being a jerk to Joan when she's trying to support him and just saying, "Hey, I want to know you because I care," and it's just like, ugh. And his whole thing where he's like, "Everyone makes up their past and forgets the things they don't like. I never asked you about your stuff. Maybe you just don't come home." I was just like, "Oh my goodness! If I could get my hands around this guy's neck, Well, I know that's a dumb reason to hate a movie, but I don't think I could ever watch it again because I dislike the person that Bob Dylan is so much. I could watch that again
like very soon. And I like that film. I really did.
I think the movie's good. I don't like sitting down and watching people who are awful and get idolized and everyone's just okay with it. It's like, stop.
Yeah, but there's other films like House of Gucci. Those people were complete morons too. And
I haven't seen that yet.
Okay, but and it's you sit there like holding your head at every business decision that those people that are in charge of the Gucci company did, and you go, oh my God, how stupid are you?
Right, but that's the thing, is it's fun to make fun of those people. This is still like, it's not taking a stance on, yes, Bob Dylan's a good person, but it also is like everyone's still gonna.
I don't think it was making. I don't think it was making. It wasn't making him out to be a good person.
No. I'm saying it wasn't doing that, but it also wasn't condemning him. Because at the end, it's like, oh, he does this big triumphant thing where he pisses off a bunch of hippies at a concert. And he goes, how does it feel? And it's just like, oh, my God.
Yeah, but that's the song that Bob Dylan's supposed to. If nobody knows anything about the Bob Dylan catalog, like Rolling Stone is the one song that everybody knows.
Yeah.
Off of Highway 61 Revisited. Yeah. And it's funny, I showed Jessica last night a picture of that album cover to show how close to the film it was. And she was like, wow, Timothy Chalamet looks a lot better than Bob Dylan did.
Yes, absolutely.
Because I wanted to see what the girlfriend that Elle Fanning played. Sylvie, like what she looked like in real life.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And casting on that is just, it was really good.
Yeah. Yeah. And like I said, there's a lot of this that I'm like, it's entertaining, it's fun. I don't think I ever really understood why, like if I have a criticism of the movie as a movie, it's that the relationship between Sylvie and Bob never really like makes sense. It just kind of they go and they're in love. And
I don't think it made sense in real life either.
Maybe not. Yeah. I mean, if that's true, then I rescind my criticism.
He was kind of. I even got to the fact that he was just kind of using her for a place to stay.
But then she said when she left, she said, "I know you're just aching to have your place back to yourself for a while." And
she knew he wasn't going to be faithful.
I don't know. And like the whole movie, I guess she suspects that he's got a thing going on with Joan.
Yeah.
But it's all very just like said with her eyes, which is better storytelling than just doing like an exposition dump or something. But it is.
And that's where I think a lot of this
is that what's happening?
Yeah. James Mangold is a director, just handling this and doing a magnificent job with it.
It's good stuff. It's just.
So the question is, do you think Chalamet will get, first, you think he'll get nominated for an Academy Award? And two, do you think he'll win it?
I think he'll definitely be nominated for it.
It's all going to, my personal opinion on it, it's all going to be who he's put up against.
Yeah. Who else do you think would be nominated this year?
There hasn't been that much.
Well, I mean, it's you've Dwayne The Rock Johnson, of course, is incredible as an elf, so he'll be up for it.
Yeah, no. I hope not. If that happens, I will not watch the Academy Awards this year.
Oh my gosh. I wasn't going to watch them anyway. I was just going to look up the results afterwards and be like, hey, so this was dumb.
That's what I do with the Golden Globes, because it's foreign press and who cares?
I hate award shows, man. They're so... It's just everyone patting each other's backs while it not even being about like awarding performances and stuff. It's more just everyone like playing the politics, which is dumb.
And it is a popularity contest, but there are some things that people do win awards for that they are deserving of it.
Sure,
and that's where I like to see the recognition for that.
Yeah, and I just go and watch those the day after on YouTube.
Especially the technical stuff.
Oh yeah, the technical stuff. I'm like, yes, give these people their credit.
Like as far as I'm concerned right now, Wicked might as well just like back up the truck to the Oscar.
Yeah, absolutely.
And start loading them in.
That was what I was going to say is like, I really do think that the lady who played Elphaba is probably going to be up for an award. And I begrudgingly think that Ariana Grande probably will be too. Like, she's pretty good at that role. That was good.
The one that I'm hoping for actually is the guy that played the wizard. Jeff Goldblum.
Jeff Goldblum.
Yeah,
I don't think he'll be nominated for an award for that. It's too small and it's like it's good, but it's very just Jeff Goldblum.
Yeah, but there's people that have gotten nominated in the past for being in a movie for like 10 minutes.
Sure. Yeah. I mean, maybe best supporting actor.
Yeah, that's what I'm thinking.
Yeah. I wonder if Hugh Grant for Heretic will be up for something. Maybe not an Academy Award, but maybe the Golden Globes.
You're probably more likely to see that in the Independent Spirit Awards.
Okay, yeah.
Than anything else, because A24 really caters to that crowd.
Yeah.
Which all their films really do that. And I think that studio has come a long way. Generally, I think they're what Lionsgate started out as. Like, Lionsgate started out as kind of an exploitation and art film independent cinema too that they did, and they got real big, and now they're just putting out a lot of garbage in my opinion. A24 is still like, I don't like everything they put out, but I give them the credit for having the courage to put the stuff out that they're putting.
Yeah.
You know, a lot of it is horror based, but something like Heretic that, it's horror based, but there is a lot more to that film than what looks to be on the surface.
Yeah.
And deserves a more of a deeper look into that, and somebody going, oh, it's another like Saw ripoff.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. It's definitely not that.
Right.
Which, it's probably in my top 5 for the year.
Yeah.
Honestly, I really liked Heretic. Saturday Night probably is up for something. I would think.
So did you read that? Like I read.
Yes,
okay?
I did.
I'll stay out of that then.
We'll get to that in the news.
I was wondering because I was like, oh, watch me set Garrett off today.
Because of course Chevy Chase.
And the button's back.
The Crow is definitely not up for anything but Razzies, and rightfully so.
And I think that is the worst film I saw this past year.
I
don't think even
because
like
it doesn't succeed as a movie.
No, it's horrible. And that's so that like when we saw Nosferatu, I was like, well, at least Bill Skarsgård has done something that was good.
Yeah. He redeemed himself. I'll give him that. Alien Romulus, I think, for cinematography is probably going to be up.
I hope so.
That's a beautiful looking movie. I don't know.
Wicked's gonna canvas a lot of. Probably gonna get the most nominations out of anything.
Absolutely, yeah. Monkey Man won't be up for anything. People will ignore that.
No.
Ghostbusters, obviously, Best Picture. I don't know. I think that the movie that we started on, Complete Unknown, it is good, but if you are like me, disillusioned with people who claim to be revolutionaries but are instead more de-evolutionary and in the way that they kind of just go down to their own self-serving, narcissistic, and basal desires.
But that's most musicians.
Exactly. Like, it's hard to watch those people and enjoy the craft of the movie that I'm watching when I'm just going, you're an idiot. You're an idiot and a jerk, and you think that you're a victim, and it just rubs me the wrong way. Like, I went home last night, I was sitting on the couch, and I was thinking about it, and I was thinking about hero worship and the way that people idolize these musicians, and it's just like I just opened up my Bible and started reading Proverbs with my wife because and you know what's funny?
What?
The part we were reading was all about wisdom and not turning away from the teachings of people who offer you wisdom and stuff. And I'm like, oh, you mean so the opposite of Bob Dylan? And just to be clear, let he without sin cast the first stone. Among sinners, I am chief. I'm not claiming to be better than Bob Dylan. I'm just saying Bob Dylan sucks as well.
Yeah.
But yeah, that being said, the movie's good. The movie's really good. And if you're into the history of that, I think it's well done. It is definitely like 90% on-stage performances. And kind of at a certain point, I started to feel kind of like Joker 2, fully a poo. Levels of just like, yep, but the music's better. But
well,
also,
how can you really compare the two? Like, there's a big difference between Joker 2 and
there's
this.
a reason for there to be singing in this, for one.
But the other thing too is they probably didn't spend as much money on this as they did Joker.
No. This is like a $50 million budget.
Yeah,
which is $50 to $70 million, which is it just
sad
goes
that
to
it's
show
probably
you that
not going to make it back.
It's not. I don't think so because it's down in theater 6 now, isn't it, or is it in 2?
No, I still have it in 2. It's
Okay.
going to 6 starting tomorrow.
Yeah.
And it wasn't even in 7.1 either. It was only 5.1 audio.
That's very odd to me for a music film.
I was scratching my head that when we got it ingested into our satellite, I was like, ooh, 7.1. And I'm like, this is going to sound really good. And I was like, what? 5.1? That was
Yeah.
it?
Yeah. That's very weird.
Yeah.
Why would you not? It's just 2 more speakers and you're doing mixing anyway for music. Like,
Somebody got lazy.
Give me in the crowd, Like, I don't know. That's interesting. Maybe that's where they're not sure if it cost 50 or 70 million because they're trying to figure out if extra money was spent on something other than those 2 other speakers. But that being said, yeah, I did. I enjoyed the kind of playing back and forth between Johnny Cash and Bob Dylan. I think that the
Yeah,
woman who plays Zoe Joan Baez, Monica Barbaro is incredible. I think in this role. Boyd Holbrook, even though he's not been in many good things, was Johnny Cash.
I can't think of anything that he's been. I know he's Hal Holbrook's son.
Yeah, so he was in Logan for one. He was the champy claw guy, I think.
Okay.
The main guy's chasing after Logan.
It's been a long time since I've seen Logan.
He was in The Predator, that really good one where
with the autistic kid,
where autism is the next evolution of humankind, and that's why the predators are here to steal one of their spines.
Yeah, that film's horrible.
He was in We Can Be Heroes, which is a spinoff of Shark Boy and Lava Girl on Netflix.
Really? They had a Why would there be a spinoff of that?
It's a fascinating, terrible movie. It's real bad.
Hey, Drew, you got to look that up on Netflix, man. You'll love it. I'm sure.
Check out We Can Be Heroes.
Because he loved Shark Boy and Lava Girl.
I mean, how can you not? Dream, 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 dream. It's so good.
Yeah, and it's the only movie now with that one guy where he actually wears a shirt.
Taylor, that guy.
Yeah, the Twilight boy.
Whatever.
Not Rob Pattinson, the other one.
Yeah, the other guy. This guy, he was in Vengeance, that movie with BJ Novak. I think he was pretty good in that. I saw the first half of it before I had to go do something, and then
don't even
never came back to it. It was a streaming movie, I think, primarily, but. He's been in stuff. He was in Narcos. That was, I think, one of the big things that Boyd Holbrook did.
I've heard that of it. My father-in-law loves that series.
Oh, I was trying to place the guy who plays Woody Guthrie. I was like, I've seen him before. It's because his name is Scoot McNairy.
Yeah,
and he's in Speak No Evil. And I was just like, I know that face, but where?
Yeah.
How could I forget a man named Scoot McNairy?
Good thing you didn't have to shoot anybody in this one.
He barely did anything. He had one line, and it was mostly.
Yeah. Well, the Woody Guthrie, I think, close to the end of his life too, and he was stroke and bedridden and
terrible.
Yeah,
terrible. Yeah. I don't know. It's a tough one for me, mostly just because I am.
I still would recommend it.
Yeah, I would too. That's the weird part.
So
I think
your main
good.
problem with it is just like the ethics of the main character and that person. You just don't like them.
He's an insufferable man.
I understand that, but it's still a good movie.
Yeah, but I just wanted to not listen to him talk ever again.
I'd rather just hear Timothée Chalamet talk as him.
Sometimes I was just like, open your mouth a little bit and talk normal.
No, but that's what he's known for.
I know.
Thank God they didn't go into the We Are the World stuff. Didn't go that far down his career path.
They stuck to that first 4 years, and I think that was probably the right choice.
And the shot, how they made New York City look like the 1960s, it just
it's really it. Like I said, it captures that time period. So, oh goodness, alrighty. Well,
is there really any spoilers for this though?
Just that Bob Dylan sucks.
Okay. Yeah, the whole romance with Joan and there really isn't any spoilers to this thing. It's pretty straight ahead.
It goes exactly how you think it would.
I'd say that even if you don't like I said, I've never been a big fan, even though I saw him in concert. Mm-hmm. I still like the film and I still like the music, and I think I have a little bit more appreciation for the music now. Mm-hmm. I definitely like the electric stuff a little bit more than I do the folk stuff, because I had a friend in college that had this pin that I wish I still had that says if I had a hammer, there'd be no more folk singers. And that's a bit like folks singing in that genre of music for the most part is
yeah. It's funny. I like the folk music more. I like the electric stuff too. I have a foot in both camps, but I like the folk stuff more because it feels more genuine. But that's coming from someone who was raised on hymnals. So, but yeah, I don't know. I think that it was interesting watching it, and coming out, you feel you have more appreciation for the music. Yeah, and I actually think it's much dumber than I originally thought it was.
Okay.
After learning about the person behind it, I'm like, these are empty words. He acts like he cares about these things, and maybe on some level he does, but it's really just him trying to be who I want to be, which is the most basal human desire to not have anyone tell me who to be. Blah, blah. Shut up.
Yeah, but the mid-60s is all the anti-establishment with the Vietnam War. Vietnam War hadn't happened at that point, but Cuban Missile Crisis, which is featured in the film too,
Yes,
and everything surrounding that. And I think it's funny that James Mangold did also did Walk the Line. There is a part in Walk the Line where Johnny Cash is like putting up pictures in the studios and listening to Highway 61 Revisited.
Oh, really?
And thinking what a great songwriter and that Bob Dylan is. And then James Mangold goes on to do this film too. So I think it's really cool that he does both of those.
I don't know. It seems kind of self-referential and self-indulgent. No, I'm just kidding. I'm kidding. I'm kidding.
So you're just saying that about me?
No. We're not talking about. It's not all about you, Andy.
I know.
I just. I don't know. Maybe I'll change my mind if I watch it again, knowing that's his personality. But it was distracting me enough that every time he did something, I even leaned over to Hannah during the middle of watching it. It was just like, this guy sucks. He stinks. and I know Masters of War because it was covered by Ed Sheeran. I know Ed Sheeran, but I know it because of
Jessica
that.
loves Ed Sheeran.
And I knew Knocking on Heaven's Door because Avril Lavigne covered it. So like it's not that I'm not familiar with the songs.
Even Guns N' Roses covered that too.
That's right, yeah.
And then Hard Rain's Gonna Fall, I knew from Edie Brickell covered that for the Oliver Stone film Born on the 4th of July.
Okay, yeah.
And she's actually in that film too, doing that song on stage.
Huh.
And I think she, if I'm not mistaken, she plays Joan Baez in Born on the 4th of July, because it's the whole thing. That scene is set in a club in New York City with Tom Cruise too.
Yeah,
and that before he became an insufferable person too. Like I gravitate toward true stories. I love them, and that's another reason why I like this film. But Born on the 4th of July, I really like too. For one, it's an Oliver Stone film that I like most of the stuff that he does, and two, to see that character and that person who actually existed and changed from, being all-American boy. Yes, he volunteered to go into Vietnam, went into it, got hurt, to the point that he's paralyzed, and then come back and be an anti-war protester. I think watching that transformation is fascinating.
Oh, sure, yeah.
And I really like stuff like that. Yeah. I'm looking for Alto Kings coming out in a couple months too. So it's a true story of Frank Costello and Vito Genovese, the guys that started like the Five Families in New York City.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah.
See, why can't I enjoy things, Andy?
You think too much into it, I think. I take it for what I still think cinema is an art form, and I still love what's put in front of me. Even though it's not 7.1 in this case, I still love how it sounded.
We'll forgive it.
I like the cinematography of doing concert sequences too, because I know that's hard.
It's hard to make it interesting. This never gets boring.
Right. I was never... Jessica said she got a little like, okay, when does this need to speed up and keep going about the middle of it? But I wasn't. I was like, I could watch that again, right now, and I would not be bored.
Yeah. And I think I was interested because even when the concert scenes are going on and I'm like, we could get to some story stuff. Like, just give us enough of the song and let's move on. I was still listening to the lyrics and like really paying attention to that to try and figure out, is Bob Dylan just full of it or not? That's what I want to know. Like, because
I'm sure he is.
I'm sure he is. But I was trying to figure out, like, is there what's the redeeming qualities of this man that makes him, worth the fame and everything? And then I was like, oh, none.
His music, the legacy that he has laid down for that has been covered by several different bands that we've talked about, and even like one of my Ministry does a cover of Lay Lay Lay, which was the song that I knew from the 70s. That was my introduction to Bob Dylan.
Gotcha. Yeah. Well, I mean, there's no doubt he's an influential feature.
Yeah.
But
he's a jerk as a human being.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I like heroes I can look up to. I think that's what it is.
He's not a hero of mine. Just I like I said, I just got in a little bit more of appreciation for the music after this.
Well, I want to go look up Pete. What's his name? Pete Seeger.
Oh, yeah.
He seemed nice. but alrighty. Well, that's a complete unknown. Total recommend, but Bob Dylan sucks. That's my opinion.
You'll probably see it on streaming in a couple weeks
I'm
because it's
sure.
not doing.
Yeah, it's what we say it was like 31 million.
Yeah.
31.7 million. So not doing huge numbers. It was distributed by Searchlight Pictures, if you're interested, which is just Fox,
AKA Disney,
but is also Disney. Yep.
Yeah.
So. Oh, well. I did want to note Timothée Chalamet is a producer on this one. So he's definitely getting points in the back end. That's why he's running around
pushing
playing.
it. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
That makes sense.
He might have taken a smaller upfront pay to get points on the back end as a producer.
Oh, yeah.
So now he gets to try the
Or if
gig
anything,
economy for
his
real.
manager talked him into that, I'm sure.
Yeah, probably.
It's a bigger commission that guy gets.
Absolutely. All right, you want to talk about Nosferatu?
Yeah.
Let's get into it. Okay, so Nosferatu is a very, very old story, if you
Yes.
will.
The original Dracula.
Yes. And, well, actually, though, so what I found out in doing some research is that Nosferatu was supposed to be a Dracula movie, but they changed all the characters' names because they didn't want to pay royalties.
Well, I thought the other thing too was they didn't have the rights to the Bram Stoker book.
Yeah, but they did. They wanted to do it, but they never asked. They just read it and went, change that guy's name to Friedrich, and then went and did it, and then that actually led to a court order to destroy all copies of the original Nosferatu. Some have survived, thankfully, and we can look at that as part of history. But yeah, I was getting more caught up in that story while I was doing research before this episode, and I just thought that was really interesting. Like, okay, so Bram Stoker's Dracula was technically before Nosferatu,
right?
But Nosferatu gets, because it was produced as a film before any Dracula stuff was,
right. It's
gets the credit as like
screen.
The first one, and so so a lot of interesting stuff. Also, how Robert Eggers was doing research and had to he said he had to kind of flush his brain of all of the
imagery,
the stuff we all know about vampires, because he was like, I'm projecting that into the Dracula book and it's not even there.
Right.
And all the folk stories of vampires and stuff. Sorry, vampires.
It's
a
book,
Y.
If you actually ever read the book Bram Stoker's Dracula, it's kind of boring.
Yeah.
It's not as lively as the films are. The films are actually much better than the book is.
Literature used to be a lot slower.
Yeah. I can't say, Mary Shelley's Frankenstein I did like reading, and I like the on-screen portrayals that I've seen over the years with that, except for the one with Harry Potter. There was that one with him, and I can't remember what it was called, but there was
Harry Potter or Two-Face? You talking about I, Frankenstein?
No.
There was a Frankenstein with Daniel Radcliffe?
Yes.
Okay, I got to look that up.
I think James McAvoy is in it, too.
Oh, that's right.
Yeah, it's a bad movie.
Victor Frankenstein, it's called. Yeah, I never even saw this.
Yeah, unfortunately, I did.
I did see I, Frankenstein with...
yeah, I did too. Aaron Eckhart.
Aaron Eckhart,
yeah. That movie sucks.
That man I passed out in front of one time on set.
Or there's also Roger Corman's Frankenstein Unbound with John Hurt that's really bad.
Ugh.
And it's
what
just
a rich
mess.
history of art we have. Hooray, America.
Whereas most of the, outside of Twilight, which all that needs to be burned.
Yes.
I'm
ashamed to say I've read all of the Twilight books in their entirety.
I haven't.
It was 8th grade, and there was a girl I liked who was reading them. So,
I give you credit for that, though.
I did it for love. Unfortunately, I got caught up in the story like an absolute moronic 8th grader.
See, and that's what I say. I hate those movies, but I've seen every one of them.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. So
the books are better than the movies, to be fair.
They can't be any worse.
Nope.
But so Dracula, I definitely like the Bela Lugosi one. Mm-hmm. I like the F.W. Murnau original black and white one. That was really groundbreaking at the time too, and some of the original showings of that was with a full orchestra.
Really?
That I would have loved to.
That would be so cool.
Yeah, I'd love to see that.
I'd love to see this movie with an orchestra.
Yeah, there's a band called Invisible Stars that does there is a copy of the original Nosferatu with them doing a soundtrack to it. That's really cool.
Really?
Yeah.
Invisible SARS. What SARS are visible to to the human eye?
They're kind of
most of those viruses were not.
It's Russian SARS.
Oh, okay. SARS.
And it's a little more progressive, but it's really cool.
Okay, that's interesting.
Yeah.
I do always like people putting their own little twist on taking something classic, and Not replacing it, but just like going, if we just change a little bit here, like what does that do?
And that's what Robert Eggers did with this.
Yeah, absolutely.
And I definitely think it was successful.
Yeah. Oh, I guess we should start with your
Yes.
thoughts. What do you think of Nosferatu?
I love this, Tim. I really enjoyed this. And it's not even a complaint. It's just my own personal taste. I wish he had shot this in black and white.
Okay, so we talked about that a little bit.
Yeah.
And I agree with you, but also I loved the use of color. But I like the moments where it comes in are like there's a reason for it.
But I like the scenes that had the absence of color too.
Yes, but I think it hits harder because there is color in other scenes. I think the color being drained out of things when Nosferatu is around, like there's this concept in sound design that if you're going to do a loud explosion, it needs to get quiet right before. You see this in movies all the time. There's horns honking, everyone's downtown, and then the guy realizes what's going on, and the noise kind of gets really boom, and that's that's how you make it have more impact. So like the moments of color, when it gets drained out of it and it's completely black and white, you're like, uh-oh, and so like I would love to see a full black and white version of this, absolutely, and I agree with you on that. But I also agree with the artistic decision to use color in that way. And I just think it's interesting.
And I've read some stuff recently where people are bashing the design and how Count Orlok looks in this film. And
where were you on? Idiots.com? What are you talking about?
No, that's actually been a lot of people's complaint about it. They don't like the fact that it doesn't look like the original F.W. Murnau one. And I was like, well, Eggers did not mean it to be.
Right,
He wanted something unique to this film. And making him look like a Russian Cossack, I thought was the right choice.
Yeah, he's absolutely disgusting in his own rights. And in a surprising way where it's like you can see how he can get away with getting people into the cast or whatever because he's normal enough when he's covered up.
Right.
And so, but it's got that like otherworldly edge to it. And it's like when you're about to fall off of the merry-go-round, but your fingers are just barely holding on. You're like, maybe I'll be okay. And then, your brother comes around and whacks you on the back of the head and you fall off. But
and I love the fact that like you actually feel a sense of coldness when you're watching this film.
Yeah.
And tell me, like every fire scene that has a fire or fireplace, like those are Krampus fires that they're burning.
Absolutely.
And I was like, so just the tone, the mood, the lighting, Robert Eggers' use of lighting and shadows, just like they did in the original one, just everything about this is just pitch perfect. The way that it looks and the way it's portrayed, and of course William Dafoe. Never get. I don't care if he is the new Michael Caine. I don't
put him in everything.
That's right.
Willem Dafoe in in Sonic the Hedgehog 4, please. This movie is dripping with atmosphere. It is, one of the things I appreciated so much about it, and I said this to Hannah as we were leaving, was sorry, I just like to bring up my wife because I like to brag that I have one.
Because nobody else will believe you.
Yeah, I know. I have to. She's not in my. She lives in Canada. Okay, you don't know her.
I've met Hannah. She exists. She's a wonderful woman.
She is. She's great. But I loved that it felt like an honest recreation of the 1800s. Like it wasn't trying to do the thing that a lot of movies do, where it revels in the griminess and the mud and bleh. But it also isn't trying to romanticize it.
And putting the plague as the backdrop for this thing too.
Isn't that crazy? That's just a footnote.
Although it was done with the 1979 version too, because I looked that up. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
The one that Warner Herzog did, the Klaus Kinski played Count Orlok. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yeah.
They used rats and everything in that, and had the backdrop of the Black Plague in that too.
Yeah. It works really well. Like this idea of the vampire being what brings the plague and him being death itself, essentially.
Right.
And I loved all of that. I also loved the dialogue basically being poetic prose. Like it is, it feels Shakespearean without being obtuse. So it's like it's you can understand what they're saying, but it's poetic and it's beautiful and it's haunting and it's exquisite.
And Robert Eggers has a history of that. Like the first film he did, The Witch, is all written in Old English, and it was off-putting to a lot of people that went to see that.
Yeah.
Whereas I thought it was fascinating.
Yeah.
To see that and see how that film unfolds. And I was a fan right from, that point on. And The Lighthouse I love too, which is shot in black and white.
Yeah, I need to see The Lighthouse.
It's a
have I
cool
told
movie.
you about the movie I want to make that's set in a lighthouse?
No.
Okay, so there's an episode of a podcast called Lore where it's called Rope and Rail, I think, or something like that. But it tells the story of these two people who were stuck out on a lighthouse together.
Oh, yeah?
And there were these horrible storms and stuff, and the older guy dies. And the younger guy, this information is all out there, so I'm not
Okay.
shooting myself in the foot. Also, no one's giving me money to make a movie because they gave it all to Joker 2. And
Bitter?
no,
And then they gave the rest.
vindictive.
They gave the rest of the money to Red One.
But anyway, the older guy dies, and the younger guy was a cask maker. So he built wine barrels, and so he uses some of the wood that's there and tries to make a casket to move the body out of the lighthouse.
Okay.
All the waves and stuff are crashing on the lighthouse, and he had lashed this casket to the railing. But the wind and the waves broke his makeshift casket apart, and so the guy's left there hanging in the ropes.
Oh.
And what happens is, because of the way that the wind is moving the corpse around, every time a ship comes out to resupply them, it looks like he's waving the ship away. Because of danger. And so the other guy is stuck out there for months with dwindling rations, losing his mind completely. And being tormented by these delusions of the soul of this man,
Right.
That he's the only reason he kept the body is because he's afraid he would be blamed for his death, and then he starts blaming himself even though it wasn't his own fault. It's a fascinating story, and I love the idea of this isolated little thing where you can't escape and you're trapped on this island with this corpse that is, as you lose your mind to dehydration and all of these things, you're being tortured. I just think that's fascinating. I want to make that movie so bad. I'm guessing, though, The Lighthouse probably already did that.
Not to the extent that you think. Like,
Okay, great.
The Lighthouse has a very different story to it.
Great.
And-
There's a chance yet. Andy.
Yeah.
I might do something people remember in my life.
And I think that the only film of Roberts that I haven't seen is The Northman, and I still really want to see that.
Yeah.
That script is supposed to be written kind of with that Nordic tone to it as well. So the way the Nosferatu plays out with the dialogue and how the script was written, it doesn't surprise me.
Yeah.
That he's been trying to make this one for 10 years.
Yes, I saw that. Apparently, it was the second one that he wanted to make after The Witch. I didn't watch The Witch because
You don't like horror films.
It spooked me. The trailer and the goat. I was like, that's demon stuff. No.
It is, but
Yeah.
Anya Taylor-Joy is in that too.
Which does make me think maybe I'll go see it. But
Prepare yourself for that. 'cause
Yeah.
I
I watched someone review it, so I kind of know what's up.
Okay.
So like in that instance, I'm like,
a lot of horror people hate. Well, it's not gory. It's very suspenseful.
Yeah.
And like I said, everything is written with Old English, so a lot of people were like, "This is stupid," and I'm like, "No, you're stupid."
Yeah. I do think that I have a lot of respect for Robert Eggers and his focus on using language to set tone. I think is something that is underappreciated.
Yes,
because
very
everyone just
much.
writes Marvel quippy dialogue for everything,
And he doesn't.
And I think this movie is, if this was not written with that vernacular, I think it would be half as good. Genuinely,
I agree.
think that it does so much heavy lifting for this.
Yep.
And the words really do, paint a picture in your mind of who these people are, and the word choice that they use and how they all choose to speak, and when Ellen gets more desperate, how she drops some of the properness and it becomes a little bit more basic. It's really good. Orlok is a terrifying presence every time he's on screen, and
The voice
is great.
The voice is just awesome.
Apparently, he worked with an opera singer to figure out a way to lower his register like that. So that's an incredible feat in and of itself. There are some jump scares. There's one up at the front that made me go, "Oh no, is it going to be this?" And so every time it would get real quiet, because of that same principle, where I know if it gets quiet, it's probably going to get loud again.
Yeah,
I would stick my fingers in my ears, and then it didn't happen, and I'm like, "Dadgummit, I missed out on some of the little noises."
See, and Eggers probably did that on purpose.
Yeah, absolutely. Because you're expecting it, and you're much more terrified of it may be happening than you are of it happening.
Right.
And I think that, he shows he has an understanding of how to build dread through circumstance and not cheap tricks.
Yes.
And I think it's great.
That one sequence where they're going up to Count Orlok's new home in the country that they're in, and you don't see it until the fog rolls at the last minute, and then you see this huge decrepit old building, and that's one of the sequences that it's almost black and white from the way that it looks, and it's just
as soon as he steps away from the gypsy town and goes into the forest, it's ethereal from that point on. It very, very interesting. The cast across the board, fantastic. Not a bad performance in the bunch, but there is one that's only okay.
Lily Rose Depp.
No, actually, did you not like her performance?
She's okay. She's better than her dad anymore, to be honest. So
I don't know. Aaron Taylor Johnson was the one that kind of threw me off in the middle. I have spoilers to talk about that, so we can't really cover it here. But he was the one that I was like, eh. But I turned to Hannah the first time he was on screen. I was like, that's Kraven the Hunter, which we'll talk about in the other episode. So if you want to check that out, go do that. But yeah, I just want to say I love Herr Canuck. That must have been the most fun part to play. He ran down the street going in this dorky little run, and it was the funniest thing. And Hannah and I laughed and mimicked it when we got home like 4 or 5 times.
The Renfield kind of character.
Yep. Mm-hmm. Which is funny because there's another Renfield in this. But
Nicholas Hoult.
Nicholas Hoult. That's right.
He's really good too.
But yeah, I would say if you're into horror films and stuff like that, warning: this is a adults movie.
It's R-rated. It's not like, Complete Unknown almost could have, if they cut down 1 or 2 F-bombs, that could have been PG-13.
Could have been, yeah.
Because there was nothing really else in that. This one, this is R-rated.
Yeah, there are, less language for sure than A Complete Unknown, but
it's not a lot of blood and gore though. It's almost for what you don't see again that plays with your mind more than what's on screen. Yeah,
the thing that you really need to be aware of though, if you're thinking about bringing your 8-year-olds to this, don't. First off, it's real spoopy, and second, there's a lot of sex and sexually related things, which is very much on brand for what it is. I didn't think
there was as much as. Well, there are we were expecting.
There are 4 nipples and 2 wings. I counted, and so just if you're not looking to expose your children, to, one of those wings is prosthetic, and is framed in Nicholas Holt's house now apparently. But
really?
Yes, Count Orlok's prosthetic ding dong is framed in his house.
That's funny.
But just don't take your kids to this.
Talk about envy.
But if you're interested in this sort of film, if you see the trailer and go, "Oh, that looks interesting," you're gonna love it. It is 10 out of 10, like really, really, really well done. And
this,
I shan't hear anything to the contrary.
This actually, I think, hit like number 3 for me on like the top 5. Yeah, right after I saw it, because it just stuck with me like the whole night.
Yeah, next week we'll have to do our wrap up, quick top 10. So you want to get into spoilers?
Yeah, let's do spoilers.
All right, so spoilers for Nosferatu from here on out. I don't think I understood a little bit of the Nosferatu lore. I think I got, and this is not because I wasn't paying attention, it's because I had a brain fart. So I got a little confused because they said he couldn't leave the cursed land that he was supposed to, that he died on, but then he was able to come to Germany.
There was I think I know this from reading Bram Stoker's Dracula, and that like there is earth in the coffin that he's in. Or in the box that he's in on the ship.
Okay.
And then there should be, if I read the book or if I remember the book correctly, he has earth in the coffin that he lays in too.
So he has to be back to his coffin by the time the cock crows,
right,
as they say. Not the one that's framed in Nicholas Holt's house. The chicken. And so okay, so that makes sense. But yeah, I was trying to figure out like all of the kind of lore about that and was very interested in all of that. But also was caught up in the beauty of the way that they were weaving sentences.
That and the dogs chasing Nicholas Hoult out of his room, that they were actually sent there to kill him.
Yep, he was not supposed to escape.
Nope.
So do you think, because Count Orlok has Nicholas Hoult, Thomas, sign a document that's written in my native tongue, and it's all a bunch of just like circles and stuff. It's some weird
signing over his soul.
But
that's what I thought.
Was it? Because Orlok says that he got Thomas to sign divorce papers for a bag of gold. That's what he tells Ellen when he appears in her dreams after he is in Germany. But that seems to be a lie. But we don't know what it says.
Of her.
Yeah. But he couldn't sign over his soul to the Count, could he? Like, I know the devil preserved Orlok's soul so that he could be a curse upon the land. I know that. I got that part. But yeah, they never really explained, like, all we have is Orlok's word on what Maria's dancing outside the windows here. All we know is what he says it was, but like Thomas, well, first off, Thomas, you don't sign something you can't read, you moron. What do you think?
Just like you don't drink a drink that you didn't make yourself.
Yeah, and you definitely don't let some weird guy bite your chest. I learned that in New York City.
Yeah, which those scenes are, as much as I like this film, those scenes are uncomfortable.
Oh my goodness. Yes. The word that comes to mind when he's feeding on anyone's blood is undulation. Yeah. And it makes me want to throw up.
And just the sounds.
Oh gosh. It's not like a bunch of crunching, it's just very squelchy.
Yeah.
It's very squelchy.
Yeah.
And I know all I can think of is a jelly from Welch's. Like, choosy mom, choose squelch. But yeah, it's so horrifying at every turn, because the idea of a vampire having a psychic connection with someone and being able to torment her from a distance, it's much more terrifying than a physical thing stalking you at night.
Right.
Your mind being invaded by some force you have no control over that wants to do you ill is awful. It's awful.
Which is why I thought you would have a lot more problems with this film with the possession stuff.
So, because I think we've talked about this on the show before, where when I was 15, and you can laugh at me in the comments if you want, but I saw a demon in my closet telling me that I should off myself because I had no purpose and no one cared about me, which was a lie, but I believed it.
Right.
I wanted to die. For the next 10 years of my life, I suffered with depression that I cannot explain the depths of. But here's the reason it didn't bother me in this movie. This is one of the most honest representations of how those things are allowed into our lives that I have ever seen. Because at the very beginning, It begins with her sitting up and saying, anything, come comfort me. And that's a very like on the nose way of saying like, hey, we let this stuff into our lives.
Right.
Because she literally says it out loud. But the thing is, we do that with food, which leads to, health problems. We do that with music, which leads to us, feeling however that musician felt or whatever when they wrote that song. We let this stuff into our lives because we're looking for comfort and we're looking for it in the wrong place. And so I thought, wow, what an honest look at how we bring our own doom upon ourselves.
Yeah.
That's interesting.
I agree with that.
It loses points because she can't save everyone from her own problems. That's not how that works. But that's the lore.
To ultimately sacrifice herself.
Sure.
So that, the curse can be ended.
Yeah.
At that point too.
I mean, she pays for her mistake.
Yeah.
Which is heartbreaking at the end because you really do want you want them to make it. You want there to be this overcoming of evil instead of a succumbing to it, which is what she eventually has to do to stop it. And that is a heartbreaking story. That it hit me how sad it was afterwards, because in the moment I was just like, get there, stab him, get there before she's dry.
Dracula's character throughout the ages has always been portrayed as a sympathetic character because I know from the one that Francis Ford Coppola did, there is a reason why he is, and they paint him very sympathetically in that film too. And I really like Francis Ford Coppola. Probably the last film that he did that I ever liked.
You didn't like Megalopolis?
I never saw it. We still haven't seen it. We need to see that.
We need to see that just to make a video on it. Yeah.
But you know, he's forsaken and needs to regenerate himself, and he renounces God because his love was taken away. And that's where, you know, he comes to feeding on human blood and that, you know, everything else that goes along with the Dracula lore.
Yeah.
And Gary Oldman is like really good in that role too. So
I'm sure he is. He's Gary Oldman.
Yeah.
He makes RoboCop fun.
But then he does The Space Between Us. Seriously?
He was good in that too, though, to be fair. Asa Butterfield wasn't.
That's one of Jessica's and I's first dates. And like, I really wanted to see that. And afterwards, I'm like, oh my God, really? I don't blame you if you don't ever want to see me again.
If you if you thought this movie was so bad it will end this relationship before it's begun.
Thank God
At least you didn't take her to see Joker 2 fully a poo.
No, that was after we were married.
Yeah, she's stuck now.
She can't divorce me for that.
Exactly. This is much better than The Space Between Us.
Light years.
Just watch the trailer for A Space Between Us. That's more fun than watching the movie. But I think... Okay, you want to get into Aaron Taylor Johnson?
I don't dislike him as much as you did in this.
I didn't dislike him.
I like him as an actor. I do.
Okay.
But, you know, choosing Kraven the Hunter, I realize you got to pay the bills, dude. But like Bullet Train, I really liked him in.
He's good in Bullet Train.
He did a movie about John Lennon that I really like called Nowhere Boy. And, you know, I like Kick-Ass 1 and 2.
Yeah. Well, I like him most of the time. I think he's kind of flat sometimes, just in general, but I don't always think that's his fault. Craven, he's flat because there's
the writing in that is just
I
haven't seen it, and I can tell you that.
We'll talk about it on the next episode.
Okay.
But yeah, this he was good at the beginning, and I was like, man, maybe I've underestimated Aaron Taylor Johnson. And then in the middle, I'm just like, he's acting. Just for like 2 scenes.
The whole scene, the whole sequence where he's dying and he unearths his dead wife, and you know his kids are dead, his wife's dead. You know, you really feel sad for him.
Absolutely, that's the thing is he's good at it's a good performance until it's not, and then it's good, and then he's dead. And that's pretty much like there was just a couple of scenes in the middle where it was like he's not selling the prose as well as some of the other actors are.
See, and I don't think Lily Rose Depp is as good as everybody makes her out to be in this film. I think she's okay.
I think she's fine. Yeah. I wasn't like blown away by her in the same way that I
wasn't either, and I was really expecting more from her performance just from the stuff that I had. I tried to really not watch or read anything before I saw this.
Yeah, I went in mostly blind. Like I had seen the trailers that played here, and that was pretty much it.
Yeah, just because it was wishful thinking a lot of that time. That I'm like, I hope we play this film, and I got my wish.
I'm glad.
Well, it turned out to be a huge success here.
Yeah, that actually really kind of surprised me.
Me too, and everybody else that made fun of me for booking it. They're like, seriously, you're booking a vampire film on Christmas Day? I'm like, yep.
It's yeah. I mean, I did say right as the credits rolled on this, I was like,
Merry Christmas.
Merry Christmas. But yeah, it's currently sitting at $51.2 million at the box office on a $50 million budget. So it's at least made back its base budget, not its advertising stuff yet.
There is a director's cut. Robert Eggers says will be on the physical copy, that it's actually a little bit longer.
That'd be interesting.
So I'm curious to see what he cut out, because it seems a very full film the way it is.
Yeah,
it doesn't seem like anything was cut. So I'm curious what he cut out of that to make it shorter.
I don't know. That's interesting.
Yeah.
And was it something he cut for a reason, or was it a studio note? Yeah.
Probably something that he did. Focus probably gave him a lot of control over this.
Yeah, I think after the last couple, they've been successes for them.
Yeah.
Every time. So yeah, it wouldn't surprise me if it was his choice, but if he was just like, but I like this part, so I'll do a director's cut. Because that's the thing is, as a director, and when you're in the editing bay, you're like, this is I love this, but I got to kill my darlings for the pace. And so you do the cut. So like it's tough doing that. But.
Yeah, because I opened this in Screen too, and I was like, it was packed out the first cut, and I'm like, yes, good for me.
I can't believe I'm saying this about a horror movie, but it deserves it.
But then every time I try to move it into a bigger theater, there's pre-sales for it, and it's once you have pre-sales for a movie, extremely hard to move it to another screen.
Yeah.
Because then you got to refund everybody, you got to notify all those customers. It's just a bigger pain in the butt than it's worth.
Yeah.
But yeah, so there's been days now that it played in a bigger theater and then goes back to theater 2 and then it played in a bigger theater, all because of the pre-sales for the film. But I'm so glad that this film has done well. People have shown up for it and actually shown this way more support than I anticipated. And I just thought it was going to be a whole bunch of goth kids coming to see this.
Yeah.
But it's not. Like,
do goth kids exist anymore?
Yeah.
Oh, they do?
One works in our kitchen here.
Oh, cool.
Emily. Yeah.
I'm sorry I denied your existence, Emily. I apologize.
Emily's a really nice girl though too. So
this is one of those movies that I think is an instant classic sort of thing. Like it really is. I think The Northman never really interested me before, but now I'm interested in it. I was interested in The Lighthouse, but just never got around to it. And I think that this is one of those movies that you can legitimately study as a piece of art. And it genuinely. And that sounds, highfalutin, maybe, but it's...
No, but Robert Eggers really does have a feel for that.
Yeah, and he's done such a good job with this, and the use of shadows is definitely a callback to the original film,
right?
But it's used so well here, and there's this shot where the shadow of Nosferatu... I was kind of laughing at first because it looked like a cardboard cutout they were wheeling past spotlights, and it could be that. And if it is, that's hilarious because he was like wobbling a little bit, but he wasn't like moving his hands. But then I saw maybe a finger waggle. I was like, I'm not sure, but I hope and pray that was just a cardboard cutout of that shape. They just moved past a light because that's so old Hollywood. It would be so much fun to see that.
It wouldn't surprise me if that's actually what happened.
Yeah, but it ends that shot. He goes up the stairs and it's just his shadow moving, and then the shadow opens the door, and you're like, wait a second. Wait one gosh darn minute. That's not cool. Don't do that. And so like there's that, and then the camera movement itself feels unnatural in a way. Like there's the complexity of the camera moves in some of these scenes was just like, that looks simple, but I'm thinking about the logistics of going through that door and then coming up to this high rise and all of the stuff that they had to do to make this one shot happen. And it's blowing my mind.
Right. And the sets are so closed in and everything. Yeah. It's probably a lot harder to do than it actually looked.
Absolutely.
And if there's one film that I hope knocks Wicked off of the Academy Award pedestal, it's this one.
Nosferatu. Yeah.
Imagine, I'm really like, this is my dark horse.
Which, please, if you will.
Nosferatu would kill both of them in a second.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. It's like, but I'm defying gravity. And he's like, I defy the laws of everything. Wow. And there's the undulation. But this really does... all of that being said, Nosferatu's terrifying and stuff, but nothing is scarier than when Willem Dafoe experiences joy.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh. He turns around and it's actually an interesting moment because he's gotten Thomas and the other doctor, Sievers is his name, I think.
I think so.
He gets them to go out to the property that Count Orlok has purchased. And they're out there and he's going to burn the sarcophagus, but he knew that Orlok wouldn't be there, that he would be going after Ellen.
Right.
But when he turns around, he's like, "You run in vain. We can't do anything. It's all her." Then he turns around and burns off. He's like, "Retribution," or whatever he says. And it's just like, why are you laughing? It's the only thing in the movie I was like, I'm not sure. Is he crazy? But is that?
Even when they introduce his character, he's kind of in a trance speaking Latin, and the other doctor has to kind of bring him out of it. So,
sure, yeah. And the moment he does, he's like, "Hey!" And that's the only other time he smiles in the whole movie.
Right.
And that one's not scary, but that second one, that'll haunt your nightmares.
Yeah, more than Nosferatu did.
Oh, absolutely. I'm not scared of Nosferatu. I'm scared of Willem Dafoe being happy in my house.
I wonder if we ever got a chance to meet him and he smiled at you, you'd be like, "Ha!"
Oh, absolutely. And then I go, "That's so cool, man." And then I go to the bathroom and take off my brown pants.
But then, if they ever make it available as streaming, I've said this off mic, and I'll say it again. Shadow of the Vampire, you have to see where William Dafoe plays Count Orlok. And the whole theory to that film, F.W. Murnau is portrayed by John Malkovich, and he hires a real vampire to make Nosferatu.
That's such a great idea.
And
why isn't that more widely available? Come on,
it's
jerks.
a great movie, but it wasn't a big financial success.
Yeah, well, re-release it, you cowards. And while you're at it, give us Acme versus Coyote.
And I thought with the success of this, that somewhere along the line it might be made available. And I still have my fingers crossed that maybe it will be. Because I think Universal has the rights to Shadow of the Vampire. So Focus is generally Universal's like art house division.
That's right. I keep forgetting about that.
So somebody between dig up the print, make a digital transfer, and let's get that on the getting back to my original point, to see William Dafoe play that character, and then also to watch this other film and see him play the monster in that is just really cool.
Yeah. Well, and the interesting thing about this as well is that originally Willem Dafoe was one of the people who was offered the role of Orlok in this movie, in Nosferatu. So he actually bounced around from
so
that
somebody
role.
else beside me has seen Shadow of the Vampire.
Yeah, Robert Eggers, probably. Also,
I need to meet that guy.
I brought this up because I was flabbergasted by the headline, but it turned out to be sort of clickbait. But how great is this headline? Robert Eggers took Nosferatu inspiration from Mel Brooks' Dracula, Dead and Loving It.
Yeah, I read that too, and I was like, no.
So the story is basically, he says there are a lot of scenes in Nosferatu that were deliberately rewritten after watching the Mel Brooks movie and considering, wow, that totally doesn't make sense. So basically, he took anti-inspiration from Dead and Loving It. But I do love that.
Well, at least somebody got, because Dead and Loving It is horrible.
Is it really bad?
Oh, yeah.
That's a shame. I love that man so much.
It's a big fall from grace from Mel Brooks. And having Leslie Nielsen play that character, too. And all it does is really parody Bram Stoker's Dracula that Coppola did. And it's just not, it's not good. I hated it.
It's really hard for me to hate something that has Leslie Nielsen in it. He's my hero in a sense because he went on late night talk shows with a fart machine in his pocket and would fart in the middle of his interviews. And so I'm just like, yeah, that's exactly the kind of child I want to be when I grow up.
Okay.
I've heard he was in some real bad stuff. There was
Spy Hard.
Spy Hard. I've heard was very bad.
Although Weird Al did the song for that.
That's right. Yeah, he did.
Yeah.
Nice man. I met him.
And then Mr. Magoo.
I never saw Mr. Magoo.
It's no.
But those Naked Gun movies are just like,
they're classic. Even the third one. I like all three of those.
I do too. Yeah. Those are exactly my cup of tea for like turn my brain off and just laugh.
I'm wondering if we have to really delete that from our mind come August when the Liam Neeson one comes out. Because if we sit there and compare them the whole time, we may not like the new one.
Yes, we'll need to look at it as a separate thing and just go, oh, it's inspired by the Naked Gun. It's a Naked Gun-ish, you know.
But nobody did those things better than the Zucker brothers.
Oh, the Zucker brothers were insane, man.
Yeah.
They were great. Yeah, and just not afraid to tick off literally everyone.
Right.
Which is why South Park has been. I'm sure they were inspired by the Zucker brothers to a great extent.
I still like the first one, the Kentucky Fried Movie that they did, which is just little vignettes that they did and put together for a film.
Really? I've never seen that.
Oh, it's
Kentucky
really funny.
Fried Movie.
Yeah.
Okay, it's gone on the list.
Yep.
Anything else that we want to say about Nosferatu?
Go see it if you haven't. It'll be around longer than Complete Unknown will.
Yeah, probably. I do have one last question for Nosferatu, if you'll indulge me.
Sure.
It's more of a rhetorical question. You don't have to have an answer for it, but I think it's interesting. Is Friedrich committing necro with his wife's corpse a nod to the fact that human nature is not much better than that of monsters? Maybe obsession up to and past the point of death, not being that which merely haunts our dreams, but a reality that even those who claim to act out of love might fall into debauchery if they allow madness to prevail.
I don't think so, because he was on the verge of death anyway.
Oh, well, then never mind.
Because if you saw the face scar,
the whole thing, I was like, "This is such a good question," and you're just like, "Nah."
Well,
you're right. Yeah, he had the plague.
he had the plague. I think at that point he knew he was going to die.
Sure.
So he wanted to die with his wife in his arms.
Yeah, but he did that corpse. It wasn't just in her arms. It was in other things.
Yeah, no, I don't think so.
That's what the summary says, is that he dies after committing an act of necrophilia.
That person needs therapy.
It's Wikipedia, so maybe.
Yeah, well, there's your source.
I don't know. He's betwixt her legs, man. You don't. That doesn't happen accidentally with a corpse. It's not like, oh yeah, her leg got frogged and she kicked out a little bit.
Maybe you need therapy.
Yeah, I've been telling you this. All right, well, that's it for Nosferatu, which means, I guess that means we can kind of move on to, what is that? Oh my goodness. That's the dial-up tone. That must mean it's time for this week's Internet Movie of the Week.
Well, you should, you took me by surprise there with that one.
Well, one of the things Colin I mentioned earlier, one of the things he said was that he'd love to know what's on streaming that's actually worth watching. So I thought,
not much.
That's why we do movie reviews
stay
at the
away
theater.
From it, yeah.
But I thought, let's take a look at a movie that did come out on streaming.
Okay.
Because people have gone nuts for this. People
are easily amused.
Exactly. So, so Carry On is a movie that came out. It was directed by the guy who did Nonstop with Liam Neeson. So he's definitely
staying in the same genre.
Yeah, he might be stuck in an airport, the terminal style, and not able to get out. So he's just like, I'll just do whatever I can here.
Bring in a film crew.
Just get him in here. I don't have my passport, but I do have the ability to cash checks. So come on in.
Right.
Carry On is being called this season's Die Hard by many people online. And I think that is a bit of an overstatement.
It is. Although I love the Christmas ornaments I've seen now with the scene from Die Hard where Bruce Willis jumps off the top of that building. And that's like the tree topper.
Yeah, that's great.
I'm like, Jessica, I need to get that.
She's like, Andy, I'm telling you for the last time, it's about Jesus. It's not about Die Hard. And you're like, I think I know what Christmas is about.
She hates the fact that I think it's a Christmas movie.
But it is. Technically. That was next year I'm looking forward because now we have time to actually research this. We talked about doing a episode that's like Christmas movies you don't expect to be Christmas movies.
Right.
I have one in mind already that I think might surprise you, and I'm looking forward to next Christmas. So I can
The Ref? That's one you got to see.
Yeah, The Ref?
Yeah.
Okay, no, I haven't
Dennis Leary? Yeah.
I need to see more Dennis Leary stuff, especially after that clip that resurfaced.
There's not that many.
From SNL.
A lot of the films, there's like two mainly that I liked. Most of the stuff he did was not that good.
Yeah.
Judgment Night, where it's an action film where he's the bad guy. And then The Ref. The Ref is awesome.
Got to go on the list. The Ref.
Yeah. Although it has Kevin Spacey in it, I know you don't like him.
Was he acquitted?
I don't know. He apologized, so that it's almost like he guilt by omission.
Yeah,
like
it's an admission of guilt without taking responsibility.
Yeah.
Yeah. See, the thing is, I really like Kevin Spacey's performances, and I even bought his masterclass before all this stuff happened.
Oh, okay.
But yeah, I mean,
yeah,
I'd probably rather hang out with Bob Dylan. Just as a young, semi-attractive boy.
The basic story to The Ref is it's a couple that are having marital problems. They're going to a counselor. It's Kevin Spacey and Judy Davis.
Oh, that's right.
And
I've heard about
Dennis
this.
Leary is the thief that takes them hostage while their family is coming over, and he impersonates the marriage counselor.
I have got to see that. That has been on my radar for like 2. Do you really?
Yes, I do.
I need to see that.
It's awesome. It's just as funny as you think it is.
That's great. I would love to see that.
Yeah.
But Carry On, I have seen. That was enough times. One was enough for me.
Yeah.
People went nuts for this, man, and it's fine.
And once again, people are easily amused.
I think that the script has some twists and stuff that are like, oh, I can see how that was a fun little twist that you did there, and a little thing there that's clever, and so it's fun.
Well,
but
like getting the guy fired for being an alcoholic,
right? Yeah, but it's you can see that the writer had it planned out, but I think it's let down by the direction and the acting in a lot of different places. Jason Bateman's good in it.
Yeah, and he's, for the most part, he's always pretty good in what he does.
Yeah.
I haven't seen Ozark. I've been told I haven't either to see that.
Yeah, a lot of people.
Jessica loved that.
Oh, so she's seen it.
Yeah.
Where were you? Working?
This
Providing for your family? Stop it.
Somebody's got to do it.
Nah, just be on the street.
No.
I think that it's an easy recommend if you're bored. Like, it's not terrible. It's not normal.
Well, and I
Netflix
think that's the reason I
schlock.
put it on.
Yeah.
Is because we were sitting around and like everybody's trying to figure out what we're going to watch, and I was like, I'm putting this on. It's
Yeah.
PG-13. Everybody can watch it.
Yeah.
The girl that plays the main character's girlfriend,
Nora. Yeah.
oh, she's horrible.
Oh my goodness. They have about as much chemistry as water and oil.
Megan Fox does a better job of acting than she
Right?
does.
How awful is that?
Yeah.
Like, I don't know, man. It was like she was intense and she was present, but that was it. There's nothing behind those eyes.
You're giving her more credit than I did.
I don't know. I was like, I can tell that she thinks she's doing a good job.
Yeah, but the
that's
thing
about
that
it.
scanned the luggage did more work than she did.
Oh goodness, yeah. It's. You want to just say like it's fine if you're bored and then get into spoilers real quick.
It's not horrible. I mean, it's okay, but yeah, it like if you don't really need to seek it out, if you don't see it, you're not missing that much.
If you like heist-like films, it's kind of heist light.
But if you're coming down to a choice between Red One and this, pick this.
Oh, absolutely. If you're coming down to the choice between The Plague and Red One, pick The Plague.
Yeah.
Just anything to not see Red One again.
Right.
But yeah, let's get into spoilers on this
Okay.
because I have questions.
Okay.
I have questions. So spoilers ahead for Carry
I stayed
On.
awake through this too, so let's see how much I was paying attention.
God bless you, and I'm
'Cause
sorry.
Drew asking questions was enough.
It's just like, Dad, why are we watching this 100 times?
No, like Drew was so caught up into
was he
that.
really?
Oh yeah,
Well, that tells you if it's good or not.
Yeah. So is it good or is it Drew?
No, we love you, Drew. We really do. So why would you ever put the earpiece in the first place?
Yeah, good question.
Like he does
Curiosity?
it and he's just like, oh, I guess I'll just stick this in my ear. I'm like,
Yeah, because God knows where that thing has been.
I know. Like, how do you think they smuggled it in here, huh?
That's like I find one, and we've done this at the theater. We find one AirPod.
Yeah.
I was like, garbage.
Yeah, absolutely. There's absolutely no way, because I don't know if that's been in someone's ear. Even if I looked at it and thought, I don't see any earwax, I'm going to go, but I'm going to get my earwax on it, and this belongs to someone
No, and
else.
I found ones with earwax, and I'm immediately like, tongs. I am not even like, fingers are not touching that. No.
Yeah, I clean mine. I clean mine
So do
religiously
I.
because I'm just like, first off, I don't need it going in the grill and messing up the speakers. And second, it's therapeutic. You know,
Yes.
I can't afford therapy, but I can clear my AirPods out. So,
Yeah.
but yeah, I just couldn't understand when he put it in and is on his. If you are working security and someone drops off an earpiece and tells you to put it in on a note, right? It was written on paper to put it in.
Yeah, I think so.
You don't immediately go, this needs to go to a higher up because this is a problem. Like, that is suspicious activity 101. When someone tries to force you, a security guard, to have a secure line of communication that no one else can see.
Either there's me going, why didn't you just throw it away?
Yeah. Crush it up and put it in your coffee or something, but don't stick it in your freaking ear, you moron.
Well, you probably don't want to put it in your coffee either
know,
for the same reasons we talked about.
I mean, if it's that or get everyone in the airport killed with Novichok, then yeah, put it in your coffee. This guy's stupid. And at the very end, one of the last things we hear is, you got good instincts, call me. No, you don't. No,
yeah,
you
how
don't.
did you get to be a cop out of this whole
Oh
thing?
my goodness. Oh, because you can follow simple instructions to defuse a bomb twice.
Let me guess,
Good
you're
job.
going to be riding a bicycle like this.
He's one of the horse cops they never let out. I think the plastic gun was cool, and it's like, that's a real thing that you can
That is a
do
real
that.
thing, yeah.
But one, it would not hold that many bullets.
No.
And two, it could not fire that many bullets before it explodes. You get 3 shots max out of a plastic gun.
No, because Malkovich did that in A Line of Fire, the Clint Eastwood film. He had made two shots.
Yep.
That's it. And
Yeah.
it was made out of plastic as well.
The expansive gases that plastics just don't handle that for multiple repeated shots. And he's back there with what seems to be like 12 bullets just firing off, bang, 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 before finally it explodes.
Right. And then I sat there laughing, going, yeah, serves you right.
Right. What did you it's a plastic gun. gosh, it was.
You're better off just using a squirt gun.
It's stuff like that that's so stupid. But then on the other hand, it's like there are clever things, like the fact that the whole movie we're told to pay attention to Terminal 7, Terminal 7, Terminal 7, but they were really going to Terminal 8.
Right.
That's clever. But then what's not clever and is totally just Deus Ex Machina is the fact that the guy that was held hostage, or the guy that was like the mule, his lover is the guy that's held hostage
in the van.
And for some reason, that guy got clued in on the information that they gave him 2 tickets. Why is he being told anything? Why did they give him if they're so clever and smart, why does this guy have literally any information? And he should be tied up in the van and know nothing.
And the sniper sucked.
His sniper was bad. That guy was... So he's called the Watcher.
He should have been Kraven the Hunter.
He is so sadistic, it's almost comical. He is getting his jollies while trying to do these things to these people. Like when he's walking through the car park trying to kill Nora, it's like the guy just is he's 5 seconds away from having a full-on like experience. I'll put it that way. It's just like, dude, stop. It's weird. It's so weird. Taron Egerton, I think, is a bad choice for this role because he's not a sympathetic person at all.
I understand why. Because he did the Kingsman movies and he's kind of branded a little bit as an action star because of that. So that's why they carried over to that. But then he was also the voice of the gorilla in the Sing films, Johnny.
Oh, that's right. Yeah.
Yeah. So I see why they casted him, but I
think he's really miscast because this is not a movie that needs, like, he's very good in the Kingsman movies and being slick and being that character. That is what he's really good at. And I'm not ragging on the guy. I'm not ragging on the guy for not doing this part well, but this part is supposed to be a guy who's never, he's a little bit down and he's never quite reached as far as he should. And
this should have been Dwayne Johnson.
This should have been, I don't know. I don't know who's a good pick, but it's not Taron Egerton.
Johnson.
Because would you get those curse words out of your mouth? But
no, if I was saying curse words, I would have said Chevy Chase.
Oh, gosh. Yeah, that's right. Because Chevy Chase, as we all know, is I just think he's miscast because you don't sympathize with him at all. He's so empty through most of the movie. Yeah. I think he's dead behind those eyes, and I guess that makes him and Nora a good pair.
Yeah, because that actress was horrible.
No airport is this clean or has that many working light fixtures.
No.
They're all under construction, and they should have used that to their advantage for an action set piece.
Yeah.
And so, I don't know. The biggest problem I have with this movie, though, the absolute number one, like, what is this, is when the Detective Cole, is in the car and finds out that the Agent Alcott beside her is not Agent Alcott, but is instead another operative of this group. And they do this big one-er shot of them fighting in the car, and the camera's swinging around, and you're seeing things, and they're going off the road and stuff. And the CGI is pretty dodgy through most of that sequence.
It is, because it's blurry in some of it.
But two, even if the CGI was perfect, this scene does not belong in this movie.
No.
It doesn't feel like it fits literally anything else. Like this is not the Kingsman. But then it tries to be for this little sequence, and it does okay at it, but it doesn't fit.
It's not necessary.
It's so weird. Like it's. I'm all for a fight in an enclosed space. The minivan fight in Deadpool is great. Yeah. But this is out of place in a way that I don't even know how to describe.
Well, see, generally this whole film is just little good pieces of other films stolen and put together.
Yeah. It's like. It's like a lazy grandmother's quilt.
Yeah.
Who's like, I'll just use old scraps of my shirts I have laying around.
Oh, I thought you were going to mention Stop or My Mom Will Shoot.
Oh, I wish I had thought to. Goodness gracious, man.
Maybe Stallone should have done this.
See, now that's a movie. That's a movie right there. What would be really great is for them to do like a Zootopia style reboot of this, and it's the same thing, but it's all the characters from G-Force. That I would love to watch. Got you in there right there at the end.
You did. Okay.
But yeah, I just don't understand why they don't acknowledge in the end. Like there's really no wrap up to the fact that multiple people that he knew died. It just kind of like blows over that, and in the end it's like, Eddie, now he's a cop. Congratulations.
Well, and even the whole bomb and device looks like a reject from Con Air, or not Con Air, The Rock.
Yes, it does. Yeah, it's like, you know what? They've already used the little green balls, so what we'll do instead is one canister. That's more fun.
Well,
right?
It was 3 canisters in like the suitcase.
But it's the one red one that's like actually the Novichok. The other one's a explosive part
which
of
they
it
don't really explain that well.
No, they don't. Like you don't understand that it's a bomb, but like the why can it be thrown around so much and not explode?
Right,
right?
And the fact that the guy can talk him through the earpiece on how to defuse this thing. I mean, who put this together? The Super Mario Brothers?
Well, that's the thing is it's like, all right, if you want to stop the bomb, rotate this, rotate that, pull, and hit a button. That's it?
Yeah.
That's okay. I mean, like,
should be made a little bit harder to diffuse.
I would want the reset to be easy for me to do if I was in danger, but like put a code on it or something. Just something. And it doesn't make sense that. But I like that they have Ethan disarm the bomb earlier. That way it sets him up to be able to do it later, and like actually getting it on the plane and all that stuff. That does build the stakes. You're like, maybe these people will die. Like he's taking a risk.
Yeah.
But then the scene where I did like that he's like, you have to shoot me again, and the guy goes, okay, and shoots him again. But the that end sequence was like they wanted to have their McClane versus what's his face moment, but it's
Hans Gruber.
Yeah, but it's so lame. And it doesn't feel like it's like a casual conversation, and then he gets locked in a fridge, and that's just me working at Pizza Hut when I was 16. I forgot that happened to me. I really did get locked in a fridge for 2 hours. Those guys suck.
Yeah, they do.
But yeah, it's you better hope and pray that the airtight seals on the airline's refrigerator work.
Yeah, that was my whole
risk.
thing too. I'm like, shouldn't that whole entire plane be dead too?
Yeah,
because there's no way that stuff isn't leaking out
at somewhere. I mean, and even if
they're not that airtight,
even if it's pretty well airtight, I thought he was going to have to sit there like leaning on it to add extra pressure to make sure.
Well, Jason Bateman's even kicking at it, and there is like air getting in and out.
Absolutely,
so.
Yeah. Everyone on that, they're going to have like Agent Orange types like birth defects and stuff after this, at the very least. But that being said, it's got some fun moments, and I actually do like that the action star stuff is dialed back, and instead all the people trying to do stuff are very flaily and not very smooth.
Yeah,
I like that because that felt more real.
Yeah.
And you know, it looks good. Like it's not any. I'm not going to write home about this.
I mean, it does look like a Netflix film.
Yeah, but it's above a I was going to say Walgreens movie, but I mean Hallmark. It's
or
above
Dollar General
or Dollar General. Yeah. So it's fine though. Like the whole thing is not. It's not offensively bad, but it's also not so good that I'm going to go back and revisit it. You know, and it's not got the kind of like kitschy fun that Krampus had that made me go back and watch that for a second time this holiday season.
Jessica watch that over.
She did not like it, did she?
She said she liked the beginning and the end. She didn't like the middle part.
Yeah,
and I was like, the best part of this is the gingerbread. The
cookies. Gingerbread are great. I love them so much, and I love the.
And that's what we were
watching.
Angel
when it first opened its eyes, and it's like.
Yeah, that looks like
great.
Annabelle.
It does. Yeah. Like Annabelle mixed with that lady who gets most of her hair burnt off in the first Spy Kids movie.
Oh,
it's like those two characters mixed together.
And then that's when we saw Nosferatu. I was like, man, the fires in this thing are like Krampus size.
Yes, absolutely.
I was like, awesome.
Man, that roaring fireplace, like in a the whole setup, everything feels so cold, and then you see the fire, and you're like, I should be relieved, but that's a threat.
Yep.
The sound design of it and the roaring of the fire. Oh, so good.
Yeah.
I want to watch Nosferatu again, but there's just so many nipples. So, but
comment.
But yeah, it's Carry On's fine. Nosferatu's great, and A Complete Unknown is good, but I don't want to see it again.
Yeah.
But that's a personal problem, and I admit that.
Yeah. I'm glad you admit that.
Oh, all righty. Well, I always admit to my own mistakes, but someday I'll admit to yours. I don't know what I meant by that. You can ignore it
Yeah,
entirely. I don't know.
What?
Do you want to wrap up this episode before it gets
let's
worse?
wrap up this episode.
All right. Well, thank you everyone for listening.
Yes, thank you, folks.
If you want to catch up on the news, that'll be in the next episode.
Yeah.
These will both be coming out on the same day, so you can jump around wherever you want.
Yep.
Make sure you leave a review
Please.
if you liked it. If you didn't like it, send it to someone you hate. And then other than that, I guess there's only one thing left to say, Andy, and that is
We'll see you at the movies.
Bye.
Bye, y'all.